stacking surfer. I think I'm your best friend. Balances in your bank instead.
Previously on Tortuga Trading.
My name is Sean Rich, and I own Tortuga Trading. What I've brought here today is an exhibit all about 17th century piracy, shipwrecks, antique arms and armor. Enjoy. So I have the original of this. This is a pendant from the 18th century. So what I decided to do, because of everybody saying I want to buy that, I went ahead and made a mold. So this is a recreation, but it's a beautiful silver skull and crossbones.
And it's now mine.
Yes.
So if someone wanted to get a replica of that,
Yes.
is that something that you may have more available?
Yes. Now, of course, that I've told people I have more, of course, everybody wants one. So yes, I'm going to have to cast some more and make this happen.
So I'm going to talk to you about doing things like numbering them.
Okay.
I was just gonna say,
and also make them
number
kind of
one.
exclusive, and maybe we do so many of them, and what we call COAs, certificates of authentication. I'd love to work with you on that and figure out how to get those in people's hands.
You got it. Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
Sounds like a great idea.
So what brings you over here to the show today?
I host the treasure hunt for the kids.
Oh, I love
I'm the
it.
end. They come with they answer all their questions. They bring them to me. We go over them, make sure they're right. We give them a prize.
Nice.
I love it. Well, thank you.
All right, so I want to show you some of these coins. So these are the real Spanish pieces of 8. This is the largest denomination coin that was minted during the 16th and 17th century. And the Spanish coins were the most desirable currency throughout the trading world. Silk Road, spice trade, everybody wanted Spanish silver because of the purity. And it was accepted everywhere. So for about 350 years, these coins could be found in every country in the world. So this makes it very confusing for an archaeologist like myself. When I find a shipwreck, and if there's Spanish coins on it, you can't automatically assume that that shipwreck is of Spanish origin, because all the same countries were using the same coins. So that's where, as an archaeologist, I'm actually an ancient investigator. Okay. So I need to figure out if these coins mean that that is a Spanish shipwreck, or it's a Dutch wreck that had Spanish coins on it.
So do you have any idea what these may have purchased?
Okay, so when the original intention for the Spanish mining the gold and silver in the Americas was to make crude coins for local commerce, but the ultimate goal was to send all this bullion back to Spain to have more refined coins made, as opposed to these crude examples. But I love these because there are no two coins that are identical. So it's like, not to knock Morgan silver dollars, but come on, they all look the same. They just have different mint marks and different dates.
So do you know what the weight is on these?
Yes, so the largest denomination weighs 27 grams.
Okay.
So close to a full ounce, or what we would consider an ounce, being 31.1 grams. And that's how you can know if there's anything missing from the coin, is the weight.
And so if that's being about the same weight as, say, a Morgan dollar,
Right.
I can probably pick up a Morgan dollar not in great shape, kind of just maybe coal for, let's say, $28-30.
Right.
I can pick up a really nice Morgan, probably in the $40 to $50 range, and if it's graded, a lot of times it'll go higher than that.
Right.
What would you sell that coin at here at the show?
So a coin like this that's not slabbed, not graded, typically 500 to maybe 700 for one in this condition. So Mel Fisher came up with a grading system for the coins that they recovered off the Etosha. Grade 1 being the best. Grade 4 and frag were very, very deteriorated by the salt water. So this would be considered a grade 1 if it was found on the Etosha. Now, chances are this may have been found on the Etosha, but all the paperwork is missing. So, a lot of people come up to me and go, hey, I bought this and it had all the paperwork, but we lost it. All we have left is the coin. What do we do? Well, unfortunately, you're kind of stuck, because without the TSI number from when they issued the certificate, they can't issue any kind of replacement documentation. So it's all just kind of a mystery now.
So keep your documentation.
Yes. Don't separate it, because that's half of the value. if you miss, if you lose it, then you can't prove where it came from, and that's the provenance.
So one thing I'm going to throw out as some advice to people is if you have paperwork and you have a shipwreck coin, it's probably a pretty good idea to think about grading it.
Yes.
Which is going to start to lock that in, at least on the slab.
Yes.
Still keep the paperwork. They should send that back to you. You should request that.
You should actually call the grading service beforehand.
Okay.
And do not send the original paperwork. Chances are they'll just say, do color scans.
So I stand corrected. Do not send it in, guys.
Don't send it in because chances are they're not going to send it back to you.
Okay.
And some of those old certificates have wet signatures of Mel Fisher, who has now passed away. So those particular wet signature COAs are actually worth more than some of the other ones. So there's a lot of little nuances that go into the value of these things.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Those are great. All right, so you guys, what do you want? Which one?
Exactly.
I love those. All right, maybe just show us real quick a couple of the graded ones that are here.
Yep. Okay, so here's a nice 8 real cob, and this was most likely recovered from the 1715 fleet that wrecked on the east coast of Florida by Vero Beach. And unfortunately, this was a perfect example of where somebody who had this coin did have the paperwork, but they lost it. But they wanted to make sure that the coin was authentic, so they sent it in to NGC and they slabbed it, but of course there's no designation for the 1715 fleet shipwreck. So you're going to see a lot of the same coins out there in the market that don't have the shipwreck designation, but if you know what to look for, there's a pretty good chance you can pick out the ones that were from the actual wreck sites.
Because I can see a crest on there.
So yes, this is the shield of the Habsburg family of King Philip V. And then on the reverse, this style of cross was only minted in Mexico City. So even if a mint mark is not visible, you can tell where it was minted by the style of the cross.
That's awesome. So I do. I've been starting to collect some of the shipwreck coins, and one, I love history. Here, let me come back out. I've been starting to collect some of these coins. One, I love the history of it, and then two, it's the story of having something that you can relate to. So to me, it is a huge deal to have either the paperwork or to have something that is authenticated by one of the grading companies, and then do the research on it, learn about it, figure out where it came from and what was the story behind that ship and what happened.
That's what captivated me when I was a kid. It started out with fossils, walking along the beach, finding shark teeth and stuff like that, but then looking out over the Gulf of Mexico, thinking about pirates, the Spanish treasure galleons, and could there still be something out there? So, and then it all changed when I saw this National Geographic magazine and it featured some shipwrecks in it. And I went, oh my God, I love this. How do I get involved? So this was before the internet. So you had to physically go to places and stand on people's feet to be noticed, to show that I'm serious, I'm not going anywhere. I really love this stuff, how do I get involved? So believe me, there was a lot of, let's say, life decisions that were made at that point, because there is indeed modern day piracy. So you have to, either you were born with a moral compass and want to do things the right way, or you go to the dark side, if you will. And if you get caught, you could lose everything. So I have to walk a very fine line. Do I agree with all the rules and regulations? Maybe not, but I think there's a way that everybody can work together for the common good. And this means preserving this stuff for future generations. Yes, we all want to make money because it costs money to do this. For anybody thinking that this is an easy thing to do, it's not. It's very expensive, time consuming, and you need professionals involved, especially when it comes to the archaeology.
I would imagine just moving everything into the show here to share with everybody is quite the operation.
It is, and I obviously have to be concerned about breakage and the transportation of this material. My God, if I got in a car accident, You know, there's lots of things that I have
Yeah.
to really debate.
Well, this is more than what you're going to fit in a Civic. So,
No, yeah.
well, Sean, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today.
Absolutely.
And I've got some information we'll leave for people to find out a little bit more about you, to be able to follow you. And I'm hoping we can do some more videos in the future, and maybe even an adventure one of these days.
Absolutely.
That would be
Everybody's
awesome.
telling me you got to bring a camera crew when you go on these expeditions, and I'm like, yeah, but it's like I've got to worry about that many more people
Yeah.
because some of the places we go, it's dangerous. There's no other way around it. But that's part of the adventure too.
I think it's
As
awesome.
far as I know, I only have one life to live until proven otherwise.
Yep.
So make the best of it.
I
And
agree.
really, my MO with all of this is I'm a custodian of history, but I'm just one person. So my message is, because the museums are packed, they can't possibly display everything they have. It's up to us, the private citizens, to hold, maintain, preserve, and pass on the history and the physical items to future generations.
I agree. It's one of the reasons that I stack things that are not just bullion.
Right.
There's history to it. So recently I picked up a Greek coin.
Right.
It's from 330 BC.
Yep.
And my kids are like, why do you have that, Dad? And so I'm working on educating them and helping them understand why I would buy that in the first place. And it's part
Right.
of history.
Exactly.
And then I've got some Roman coins that are around, I think it's around 150 AD.
Right.
And so my goal is to get one that's kind of around 0, or kind
Right.
of spans between BC and AD, and some biblical gold, let's put it that way. But that's one of the goals I've got, and it's fun, and I think it's history, and I want to keep it with the family.
Absolutely.
But what I love here is you have so much, you have so many awesome pieces. You basically have a museum over here in the corner.
Yes, and a lot of these pieces were in museums at one time and will end up in museums in
I
the
love it.
future.
Well, thank you again for coming on, and we hope to do another interview with you again in the future. And like I said, an adventure would be great too, so we'll see what we can do there.
We'll see. We'll be
All
in
right,
touch.
everybody. Thank you, guys.
Take care.